And we are the Non-Prophets. I'm Denis Loubet, along with Jamie Boone and Derek Hawke. We're all unabashed atheists, and we're coming to you from the Free Thought Library in Austin, Texas, on the 20th of October, 2019. This show is sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism and rejection of the intrusions of religion into our secular government. If you want to learn more about the ACA, you can call their voicemail at 512-220-6561 or visit their website at www.atheist-community.org. The Non-Prophets broadcast every first and third Sunday of each month from 3 to 4:30 Central Time. You can join the Non-Prophets chat room by following the directions at www.nonprofitsradio.com. So be alarmed and don't be afraid of burning in hell.
Yes! Hello, like you said, is Dennis, Jamie, and Derek, and we are back. As a friend of mine once misquoted, today is a good day. How are you, Derek? Are you enjoying the good day with as much goodness as this good day brings?
I'm a little under the weather.
Well, that doesn't go with my theme of everything being great at all. Well, everything's shit again. Now let me find the bad news.
No. My level of lung butter has decreased, so I'm on the mend.
I was going to say, proposed bill makes all good things illegal and terrible Christianity stuff mandatory everywhere it passed. We're doomed. All right, cool. Now we're keeping with your theme. That's great.
It's a good day to die.
Way to bring me down now. No, what do we say to the god of death? Not today, because you don't exist.
I thought it was like a dish best served cold.
That's revenge.
Just gazpacho.
That is probably gazpacho. Also, it's probably ceviche. Is also probably.
I don't know.
I was gonna say.
Now you got
sushi, maybe.
Dennis, I have a question. In your intro, you mentioned you used the term unabashed.
Unabashed.
What does that mean?
It means you're not bashful. You're not ashamed of being an atheist.
I thought you meant beaten.
No. It has nothing to do with bashing.
Unbashed. My head is bloody but unbowed.
We're all unabashed atheists.
Out of the night of theocracy that covers me.
We hope we remain that way.
I learn
Black
something
is
every
the
day.
Pit from pole to pole.
Unabashed.
Yeah, that whole thing about old dogs, it's not true.
Yes, it's true. It's true that it's not true.
It's true that's not true.
It is factual that statement
This
is
old
inaccurate.
dog learned something today.
Sure.
What did this old dog learn today?
That I'm unabashed.
Yes.
That means that I'm not beaten.
You are with it. All right. So, obviously, I'm happy, and I've gone back and forth on what order we should do these things in.
All right.
Let's just scramble things up. Dennis,
Sure.
you've got a couple of fan emails for us.
I do have some things like that.
You were not expecting me to come to you first.
Immediately, no.
I
But
threw you a curveball because I'm in excellent good news.
most are from a single source, oddly enough. But we'll just start with the latest first.
Oh, does this source have a name, or is this like a secret undercover whistleblower whose identity should, whatever?
It's
be
one
protected?
of the millions of Chucks in Arizona.
Okay. How many Chucks could Chuck Wood if
they were in Arizona?
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's only cactuses.
Real quick, it's always been a dream of mine to be a whistleblower where they put that shadow on you and mess up with your voice.
Oh, yeah.
Always wanted to do that.
I was going to say,
Right.
we are in a studio right now. I bet if you ask really nice,
probably do the voice.
and you
But I would need something to be whistleblowing on.
I learned today that the ACA doesn't have enough room in its recycling. Unabashed is a real word. I'm unabashed. No one here is being bashed.
So what did Chuck have
What
to say?
did Chuck in Arizona have to say? He said, why do presuppositionalists bother trying to convince atheists of anything? Since they claim that we have no reason to trust logic without already believing in their God, they should believe that we have no reason to accept any logical arguments they make about anything. If we shouldn't trust our own reasoning, then we shouldn't trust theirs either. But they behave as though we should. Their actions don't agree with their claims.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say...
Yeah, they try and use logic to show us that logic doesn't work.
Well, so they use logic stating that it's not the foundation of basically their epistemology. They use like different wordier words to kind of say that.
Right. But
to
why don't they use their own crappy epistemology to
well,
try and
their
convince us?
epistemology
Good luck
is,
with that.
My foundation is, so for like psi or whatever, which is the presuppositionalist I know the best, because that's how I was introduced to it, and then I didn't spend a whole lot read as waste a whole lot of time really digging into like, ooh, you know what? I should engage with people that are going to tell me they know what's in my head.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you a point that I have that I've observed as a layman to all these type of...
Oh, yeah?
But the arguments of the believers and the theists have changed over time. When you look at early days, atheist experience, you had your kind of your nutballs, kind of just the really... basic, simplistic type of, well, I believe in Jesus, and because I believe what I believe, that's what I believe. And as the years have gone by, their arguments have tried to adopt kind of the stances that we have, whereas you're looking at a lot of evidence-based, and they've tried to kind of, I guess, assimilate that tactic because their tactics aren't working. And even though they're still not working, but it's kind of like the same tired old... same tired old argument, just packaged differently.
Right.
Or trying to use, like you see this with the young Earth creationists, where they're trying to acquire like a scientific lingo to try to legitimize. Is that right?
Legitimize.
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 It's
They're gonna legitimize.
It's like it's not Amalekize. It's think demise, but then legit.
Yeah, legitimize.
Oh my God,
Go ahead.
Their argument.
You nailed it, bro.
Yes, but they're trying to legitimize their position.
Hey, I'm like old Papa Bush. I make up my words and numbers. But the point is, I've seen this kind of progression to, well, this is what the Bible says, this is what I believe. They're trying to acquire all these other types of tactics to kind of legitimize.
Right.
God damn, I can't say that word.
to support the legitimacy of
their
I like that
position.
That's pretty. Yep. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
But that's what I've seen. If you look at the history of the types of calls and people that are that have come onto atheist experience from past to present, and you saw this kind of more sophistication of their arguments. I'd say with Talk Heathen.
Oh,
I was just about to say, you've noticed all this about the atheist experience. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, so you're equally in-depth study of Talk Heathen.
Right.
Whereas
with atheist experience, it tends to be more of a debate, but as its age has been a conversation. But Talk Heathen was really more of a conversation, and you saw those really different level of caller with Talk Heathen than you did in the past with atheist experience in its age, and that's all I'm really trying to say.
Well, the thing is, they're in a tough spot. They desperately desperately want the imprimatur of like science and reason and logic, and yet they hate those things because they're not on their side, and so they use the sciencey words, but and the logic-y words, but they don't quite,
and the whole mystical thing just doesn't work anymore. I've had a lot of conversations with family members who will always say, well, God spoke to me. And then and when I was younger, that wasn't a conversation stopper. There was no pause. It was like, God spoke to me and he said, blah, 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 and he directed me to do this. Now, we come up and say, wait a minute, hold on, stop. God spoke to you. Really?
Yeah.
Really? What did he sound like? I mean, did he have that booming voice? I actually pictured him having kind of a feminine kind of like mousy voice.
How did you know he was a supernatural being?
Hi, I'm supernatural.
And how did you positively identify him? Did you ask for his ID?
Like, hey, I'm the Lord.
Did he show you a badge?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the. It's like it's very much like Jesus, for whatever reason, was trying to show up in Jackson County, Missouri, where the Garden of Eden was. Obviously.
Right.
Where? Hold on, what?
Jackson County, Missouri.
That's where the Garden of Eden was?
Yeah. You haven't studied the doctrines of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
No.
All right. Well, it's not really super worth your time.
So
but
is
look
there
into
like
it,
a historic marker for where the angel with the flaming sword is supposed to still be to this day?
bro. You know what? I'm gonna give the best answer that I should in this event. Meh.
Yeah.
Translated to, I do not know that, sir. But in any case, he misses where he's coming down on Earth because nothing has to make sense because Jesus is here. And so he's in Mexico
Right.
and he's trying to walk up to the border to get to the garden of blah, 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 because the prophecy's at. And then he gets stopped at the border and it's like, where's your photo ID? And it's like,
That's right.
I don't have one. I'm the Lord, Jesus. And it's like, well, listen, Jesus, you can't get across here without a passport. Why don't you turn back around? You know, it's like, I don't know why, like, Republican, although it's voter ID laws, so it's not like Jesus was going to vote because he didn't care about politics or people in government. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Christian nationalist.
He's a foreign national trying to influence our political landscape.
This radical Christian rabbi from the Middle East is spreading religion in our country. God, I'm just
Sharia law for everyone.
Yeah.
Wait. No, wait.
It's I guess it's not Talmudic. I don't know. I'm too happy to be like I don't even know. Like, so the question from the caller, which I think we haven't really addressed directly enough, is like, why do they keep doing that? Well, they don't really need to have a well thought out, critically examined reason for the things they do because they're
Now, who are we talking about?
Christian presuppositionalist
Gotcha, okay.
apologists.
And the less logically examinable, the better.
Yeah.
I think the best answer that I've heard given was that our reason continually gives us good results. That continuously work.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, I think mostly it's for the glory of God, or they don't need to answer that question, right? Like, I
It
think
seems to be
that
too matrixy to me.
what?
This whole what if you're
solipsism stuff. Yeah, well, you know what? Why don't you just?
I mean, because honestly,
about to
I'm
say,
kind
what
of
if
dig the Matrix personally because
Yeah.
like push a button. I know kung fu.
Hey, no.
be nice.
Like, look, if you go back and you watch that movie, it took a while to download.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it did. He had to download all the things. We were sitting there.
No, he was learning all the shit. He's learning
Yes,
multiple
but look,
things, and he goes, "I know kung fu." And he goes, "Show me."
He said, "I know kung fu." After Morpheus came back into the thing, Morpheus left him there, and he was downloading all the skills, driving. At one point, you can see on the screen that he learns drunken boxing, which is a style of martial arts. I don't really know why I'm correcting you on that.
Yeah,
A second
but
ago, I was
anyway.
about to tell you, why don't you just not let that bother you? And I was like, that's not helpful.
And I could hotwire a motorcycle.
I don't know. It's a rare occurrence. I'm on TheNonProphets, and I have good.
All I'm saying is, yay, Matrix.
Huzzah for the Matrix.
All right. So anyway,
So I would say
non-presupposition or presuppositionalist.
it's at this point it's sort of like I don't really know why William Lane Craig necessarily does what he does. It's just sort of like he has a thing and he goes with it, and he doesn't have to question it necessarily in any other way than if he really felt doubt he would or felt like he either had a crisis of faith or wasn't sure he was following God's will, he would pray.
It's the same sort of thing as a little kid going, I hate you to infinity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's.
And then I would come in and say, I hate you to infinity plus one.
Yeah.
I hate you infinity times infinity forever, no backsies.
Yeah,
you can't
that's
triple stamp a
basically
double
what
stamp.
Absolutely.
presuppositionalism is.
Yeah,
it's like it's saying this is the way it is. Ha 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 ha. You can't contradict
I think
me.
They're trying to infinity stamp your single stamp.
So I think presumptualists came. I can't talk today. That P word.
the water.
I know. The presumptualist. God damn.
I got you. Just start the sentence and pause. Presuppositionalists.
came into being in a response to one of the unified movements and a voice that people like Matt Dillahunty, Christopher Hitchens, Dawkins, and that was effectively communicating to the atheist community that the burden of proof does not belong to us, it belongs to them. This is their response to that, at least in my opinion. Again,
that might be right.
Because they needed something, because it's like if you put the burden of proof back onto them instead of us, because the atheist movement was there is no God, and the truth is like, no, I don't believe in a God. Show me there's a God, and that was kind of the downfall or the beginning of this presumptionalist movement, and. At least my opinion. That's a kind of
presuppositionalist.
Yeah.
I was trying to help you, but I didn't.
You actually believe in God, and you can't prove that you don't. Ha ha ha! I win.
Exactly.
Oh, good.
But it was that switching of the burden of proof. And shows like Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, has been really effective in communicating to the mass population that the burden of proof doesn't rest on you.
Right.
And we've been effectively shown how to put a shit back onto them and not allowing them to reverse it back onto us. And that's one of the great benefits of these shows, a show like this, Talk Heathen, Atheist Experience, people like Aaron Ra, even Hitchens and Dawkins.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you were addressing sort of like, they want to, with strategies, they want to bring on all the legitimacy that they hope the trappings of
trappings of science and logic and reason
and the scientific method will bring their arguments, but they don't sort of get it. There's an analogy that that Russell actually used on this show a while back, which was it's this article, it's a story about the cargo cult, and it's like this island, I think, in the Pacific where the U.S. Army set up a base, and they built basically, a landing strip so that supply planes would come and drop stuff off, and they did their best to not interact too much with the local population, understood peace. And the local population saw them build the, landing strip for the plane and set it all up, and then they saw the planes come in and land, and then after a while, the U.S. military actually withdrew completely from a place for a short period of time, I think, and then came back, and the local population had cleared out a strip of land and lit little flaming torches along it, and I think they probably built a tower as well to imitate the look, if we do this, supplies will come from the sky.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, if you build it, the great, sky supply, and it's sort of like you don't have an understanding of the thing you're trying to imitate necessarily, but you're going through all of the motions.
That's why there's the prime directive.
That's not everyone. I don't want to sound like I'm saying, if you believe in Jesus, don't understand stuff, because that's not true. There are lots of very insightful, intelligent Christians that have a complete understanding of science and the scientific method, and then of also beliefs in God that they don't critically question or compartmentalize.
Yes, compartmentalize is the word.
He's like the go-to. Look, super Christians can also be scientists, head of the Human Genome Project.
Oh, I forget his name. Yeah,
that guy. Yeah, I don't know. I did a quick Google of presuppositional apologetics. I think it's not a invented whole cloth recently, but there's sort of trends in which arguments or which apologetics seem to be most popular. It seems like as long as I've been, in this, I don't want to say game or business, but as long as I've been doing this, that you're always going to be immoral as part of an argument. But for a while, I think it was Kalam, and it was popular. And then there was that brief internet phase where it's, do you have proof and evidence that atheism is accurate and correct? And there's that clip of on Atheist Experience of one of those guys calls in and asks that question. And then Matt spends good somewhere between 30 seconds and 90 seconds, explaining how this question doesn't really make sense because the word atheism is the category of I don't accept this belief. So in the sense that could be accurate, it means that is actually what I believe. So it is, and the only evidence that I can offer of what I believe is my actions. And the guy waits, and there's like half a beat after he finishes, goes, yes, but do you have
Yeah.
Proof and evidence that atheism is accurate and correct. And then Matt has a shorter reply.
Matt went off script, gosh darn it.
Not immediately. He went, if you just listen to what I said, ramps up a little bit. Then that guy says something slightly longer, and then there's a response from Matt, and then he hangs up. Something like that.
Yeah.
But, there's a certain level of, it goes back to, like, why do they do that? Because they're...
Well, in that example, he's trying to shift the burden of proof.
It is.
Yeah.
I'd say it's not just presuppositional apologetics that do that. There's sort of stories about, like, there's one, I forgot where it was from. I think it was from one of the podcasts I listened to, that's not important, where it was a person relating stories of a conversation he had with a friend, and the friend was sort of saying, no, if a belief has been around long enough, you can start with that belief and then go from there. And he realized that his friend was doing that because then when it came to religion, because they weren't actually talking about religion at the time, because then when it came to religion, you could say, well, no, you have to just start by demonstrating that this isn't true to shift the burden of proof, because religion's been around for a long time.
Now, do you believe that there are elements of truth, say, in the Bible, as far as characters, events,
locations?
Locations, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so when you say elements of truth, if this was going to be a super long,
let's talk about a flood.
If your question is, do you think there are things described, and we'll pick one, 1611, King James Version, 1611. That's the one for a bunch of the hardcore Christians. That is a specific translation of the Bible.
Okay.
I know that you are, as far as the Matrix goes, you're one of the people that was born naturally, so you don't have the plug in the back of your head.
That's right.
You don't know what artificial
You're part of
chicken.
Zion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the non Zionist is a term. Yeah, never mind. So that's
what you were saying.
If you're saying, is there anything in that book described that is true or likely true?
Or based on true events.
There was a Roman Empire. Yeah.
There was a Roman Empire.
Was
there were Egyptians.
It occupied Judea.
Was there
Jerusalem.
a King David?
You know what? I don't know about that specific one, but I'd be willing to bet right now, given my very, very close to not significant at all, I'm going to use air quotes, study of the ancient history of the Levant region, that there was at one point a guy in that region who was a king and who was named David and was also Jewish. Not that there's a lot of Jewish guys named David and that ancient cultures had kings all the time. But I don't know about that. I know that there's stuff like that. I don't think there was a In fact,
there was no Exodus.
Well, how about things that predominantly the Christian nation takes as truth that we're finding are not truthful? For example, the book of Exodus, where the Hebrews were, the
slaves in Egypt.
They built the pyramids, and we're finding even Israeli archaeologists.
Just pause and let me.
Archaeologists can't find any proof or evidence that there was a mass number of 1 to 2 million population wandering the desert for 40 years.
They did not find.
They would leave a trace.
They did not find anything like a trace of.
What I find interesting, or a question that I would like to ask somebody probably of Egyptian nationality, is what do you think? How do you feel about being villainized in this story of this very popular religion, and you're villainized and labeled as this horrible race of people that for something that you didn't do?
So the idea of like, let's ask the people that are written into that story as the bad guys is a good approach. I like it. It's novel. You're talking about a region of the world where anti-Semitism is largely the norm, even for like the sort of modern, more casual. I mean, I'm not singling out like a single religion only.
But you never hear.
Don't worry, I'm not being racist. There's people everywhere that don't like the Jews. But
you never hear the Egyptian stance on. You think that this would be like a big topic of discussion? You're like, hey, your holy book that we're in is not true.
Well,
it's just a question.
I was gonna say that it's probably very, very easy if you spend any amount of time to find much harsher statements about the Jewish people, Jewish identity, and the Jewish book from an Egyptian perspective. I'm sure that there are many nice Egyptian people and that there are many Egyptian people, some proportion, that do not have a problem with those. But it actually, you might not find that statement because it's relatively tame.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's just a question I've always wondered. I've never come across an Egyptian person, but it'd be probably one of the questions I'd ask them. I was like, your representation of your nationality in this book is inaccurate. How do you feel about that? Or what are your thoughts about that?
I was going to say, I'm not going to, you keep asking these questions. It's not quite a rhetorical question, but I always have the urge to answer questions. And I'm like, I'm not going to state anything that I could think of potentially as an answer that you would get, because the only types of answers I know would be decidedly...
I don't know what the answer would be. I'd be interested in hearing what the answer is.
You know what?
You're right about being rhetorical.
I was going to say, you should see if you can find any people online that are Egyptian and get their view on it, rather than have me speculate about anti-Semitic comments and trying to form them. Because quit asking me about anti-Semitism, and I'm not going to do it, because today is a good day.
It's a good day.
Yes.
You
this kind of touches
a very interesting point. How if you question, in America today, if you're not pro-Israel, then you're anti-Semitic. So you bring up a good point there.
Well, so that's not really the point I'm bringing up. The point
no, you're not. But it is a good it's an observation.
You know what? Here's what I'll say: is my impression of this region is largely influenced from reading the writings, a few of them, of Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who was raised Muslim and lived in, I think, in Egypt for a little while. It's difficult in northern African countries, Nairobi, Somalia, in Saudi Arabia. And one of the things that she highlights is the depth to which anti-Semitism permeates the culture that she experienced, as I'm remembering what she wrote.
Right.
Where it's like a person's like, oh, the refrigerator broke down, it must be the Jews type statements. So that's where I'm coming from, but that's the limits of any type of information about that.
I guess my question is, I'm questioning the authenticity of a story, and then it becomes anti-Semitic.
To question. Yeah, there's a lot of
that's
disagreeing with me is offensive. There's an argument that I've gone back to disagreeing with people on the internet more often. Just sharpen my claws, teeth. I don't know. I don't really. But it's a bad analogy. But there's a person where basically that was their thing. Is someone said, you haven't demonstrated the truth of your claims and you're making assertions, and I've told you that I disagree with them and told you sources where it's like, how dare you disagree with me, young man? You're immature, you're a child, I'll talk to you when you're older. And I was like, wow, this person is either an amazing troll or just off of it. I posted like a jokey meme thing, and then I realized I know one of the people in that argument personally. It's Shane. And the other person is, I think, someone that has known him since he was a kid that's still a Christian. Yeah, you saw that?
No.
No. Okay. Well, it was there. Just believe me. Okay. This argument, sad, the worst. I can't do a good Trump impression because today is a good day.
Interestingly, this kind of touches on another email.
Excellent.
From Chuck in Arizona.
Please tell me it doesn't have anti-Semitism in it.
No.
Cool.
But he has something to say about burden of proof. Which is interesting. Interesting observation. It's said that the person making a claim has a burden of proof, but is that necessarily true?
Yes.
I think the one who wants others to agree with a claim is the one who should have the burden of proof. If I make a claim just to be informative, but don't really care whether or not others agree with me, then I have no burden of proof. But if I want their agreement, then it's up to me to convince them that I'm right. My listeners aren't limited to either proving me wrong or agreeing with me. They can just remain unconvinced. But a listener who wants me to admit that my claim is wrong and would have to convince me, but a listener who wants me to admit that my claim is wrong would have to convince me and would have a burden of proof.
If they are trying to assert that your statement is false, then that is an assertion. It's a
Yeah.
and with an assertion, you have to back that assertion up with evidence and reasoned argument.
Doesn't it depend on the assertion as well?
I mean, elaborate.
Well, the extraordinary claims versus standard claims.
The strength of the evidence that one should...
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
If I said I had eggs for breakfast this morning and you said, can you demonstrate that? And I showed you a selfie of myself eating eggs this morning, that'd be pretty good, though I don't have that because that's boring.
Well, what if
you
just take
spoke
the
to
stance?
God this morning, then you'd have a problem.
Yeah,
What if you take the stance that I don't care if you accept my claim, that's just what happened?
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste time proving to you that I had eggs.
So at that point, it's sort of like you can't beat me in chess because there's no clock and I'm not going to move. And it's sort of like, haha, you can't beat me in chess. Well, you're not playing. Haha, I don't have to demonstrate anything to you and you can't demonstrate that I'm wrong. It's like, okay, well, this is an exercise,
right?
Intellectual and inquisitive when engaged in correctly.
Yeah, it kind of allows...
that you can sort of half fake non-engaging.
It kind of allows anyone to make any statement whatsoever without any...
Well, you can.
Yeah, you can.
But as a claim maker,
it's just...
aren't there certain claims that are worth defending or proving that they are legitimate?
Well, yeah. If you want to.
Yeah.
You're not obligated to.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Mean, I was going to say, to teach me how to cook, you have to give me the recipe. And it's like, well, I know how to cook this, but I'm not going to give you the recipe because I don't care if you can make it. Well, congratulations. Maybe you can make this dish or not.
Right.
But we're getting nowhere, right? So
that's interesting.
There's no, there is no God to force you to argue with me. And I think that's kind of the point that,
it kind of boils down to the Christians make the claim that there's a God and the atheists merely say, I don't believe you.
I mean, with me, I'd probably start more gently and just say like, oh, really? Can you tell me more? Because, hey, maybe that person is there, timid, but actually has oh, actually, here's this perfect evidence that you never would have thought of.
I'm not talking about an actual conversation. I'm talking about, this is the essence of the conflict between atheists and religion.
Yeah,
it's like they make this claim and atheists go, we don't believe you.
Yeah. It's like, I met,
And if they want us to agree, it's their burden of proof.
Hey, man, dude, my dad got me to meet Jimi Hendrix. Oh, wow, really cool? Did you get any pictures? No. Did you get him to sign anything? No. Where was he? He came over to my house. Really? When? I'll remember the other day. It's like, okay, I don't believe any of this. But, it's a cool story, bro. Cool story, bro. Yeah. I don't know where they... Yeah. So
interesting.
I'm really glad that those two emails lined up and that conversation worked that way and that all happened organically and wasn't planned in advance.
Yeah. It wasn't, actually.
You're welcome.
Not at all. Yes, thank you for that entirely organic. This isn't scripted. Wink. It's not, actually, because if this was scripted and you were like, wow, you should improve your script writing skills.
And your pronunciation.
Well, it's a bit. You're clearly just doing a bit for this. Add a little color to the existence of the show.
It's the Robotush and it's giving me mush mouth.
Mush mouth. They brought you water, and it is too far for me to drink your milkshake from over here. So you do that, and I'll vicariously have water or whatever. So. I think you had a third email, or let's give it a miss.
Mm-hmm.
So,
go to something else.
So, I told you I'm happy today because there's good news.
Yeah.
This is not the good news.
Oh.
So, Turkish bombing damages 3,000-year-old temple in northern Syria. So, real quick before I get into any part of this article, we share sort of stories and throw things around. And one of the people that shared the story was like, oh, I don't know, I'm conflicted about it because it's not good that there's bombing, just in general. Why can't we all just be friends? World peace. Why hasn't anyone else thought of that? They have. It just doesn't work. But, Turkish airstrikes destroying stuff. But at no point did I go, oh, all right, mixed feelings, because bombs went off and destroyed historical artifacts. I don't really, the fact that the people that built temples dedicated them to their belief in God, to me, does not make them any more or less beautiful, right? Like I've been to some ruins and ancient stuff, and so if someone goes, oh yeah, this is the altar where they did human sacrifice, that makes that a little bit less beautiful seeming, regardless of the design. Well, but the people prayed here. Yeah. Well,
You want my opinion of this?
Yes, please.
As an artist, my opinion of this is that those relics, those ruins and stuff, are
temple.
The temple provides immortality to the artisans who built it.
Yeah.
And when you blow it up, you kill them.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what he said. In the history of war, what we've seen is one of the things that the opposing force does is desecrate what the culture holds as holy or valuable or priceless. And what we also see in history is that the winning force will do whatever they can to obliterate the loser from history. And this is what this is. It's a desecration and wiping out of that culture. And it's really sad because those things they hold a piece of our history.
Mm-hmm. They're irreplaceable.
They're irreplaceable. They'll never exist again. And they tell the story of who we are, where we come from, what we were, and maybe even what we will be. That was Birdie.
Yeah, I was going to say,
see all these bars of gold? We're just going to throw them in a volcano.
Now no one can
things
have
of inestimable value. Let's throw them away.
I don't want to get political, but what did Trump do? The first priority that he did was to obliterate everything that Obama did.
Yeah.
But
He's
To me, that's kind of what an opposing force does, is try to wipe out the legacy and memory of his adversary in the most obscene way possible.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Sorry, I'm a little bit taken aback because if someone had, forgive the stereotype, but, if out of the shadows an old gypsy woman had walked forth and grabbed my hand and said, today you'll be surprised because Derek will begin part of his commentary with, I don't mean to get political, but, which is a sentence I've literally never heard you say before in the entire time I've known you. Nor have I ever heard you say,
usually it's worded.
Let's look at the history of war is also not even close to anything I've ever heard
It's just reworded. I usually say, I ain't one to gossip, but...
Well, that's not even specific to political stuff. Like, I guess it's just that I'm surrounded by artists, so I should try and get through this before it's revealed that I can only kind of sketch and am only improving that in my spare time.
I could tell.
I can't decide what, if any, voice to do for this. Turkish airstrikes against Kurdish forces have partially destroyed a 3,000-year-old temple in northern Syria, according to a monitoring group and the Syrian regime. This is like when ISIS went through and tried to
blew up those freaking statues.
pogrom, to completely wipe out, to genocide, to annihilate all of the Yazidi, wherever you want to put the pronunciation mark in the pronunciation of the word, because devil stuff, really, really old religion that in some ways probably laid the groundwork for all the Abrahamic traditions. Look into it, brother, or whatever.
Well, we're still seeing this type of behavior even nowadays, but masked in different ways, is with the desecration of burial sites, Native American burial sites or holy grounds.
I would say that that's more indifference than a deliberate. I mean, it doesn't really change how much you've desecrated or destroyed something, but I think there's a slight difference in the motivation when an oil company, when an oil company builds a pipeline through a culture's holy ground versus. In the case of ISIS, deliberately destroying and wiping out, culture. It's like whichever Spanish conquistadors were wrecking some stuff throughout the Americas. This Catholic bishop came and gathered all of the documents and artifacts and scrolls of this local tribe's culture and just burned all of them. So there's like an entire subculture where we have no records whatsoever of what they believed or practiced or did. And it's a real shame. But here, I guess
Cultural vandalism.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Neo-Hittite temple of Ain Dara was built around 1300 BC and is famous for its elaborate images of lions and sphinxes. The temple was at least 60% destroyed by Turkish forces as they attacked the Kurdish-held area of Afrin, the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights said. I don't really know why I'm doing a voice. It's just facts. I'm just practicing them. Yeah. But it's like, there's lots of rubble and there's sad pictures. This is dampening my theme of it's a good day more than Derek. Sorry, Derek, I didn't realize I was going to be sadder than you. But later I'm going to be happier, so I guess winning, double winning, tiger winning. Yeah, it's bad. Stuff in Syria is bad, okay? It's just sort of like, I wanted to touch on this in part because there's a friend that's like, yeah, I'm conflicted. Because, it's not great, but it's like, okay, religious artifacts being destroyed is not given the choice between a bomb goes off and wipes out the wall of an old building and a bomb goes off, destroys nothing but a human life. I value the human life more, but there's no reason to wipe out history or culture or to knock down achievements that our species has achieved, for lack of more creative words. And then I didn't really have anywhere to elaborate on that, but I think we're all in agreement that don't destroy the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How we learn who we are. Gosh darn.
Yeah.
Come on.
And, by watching films about angsty teens. That's how I learned who I was, my formative years. Yeah. So did you want to take the next one? Did you want to get the third?
I can do that.
Yeah. What's it about?
All right. Let's see. This one is from Julian.
Hello, Julian.
It says, hey, guys. I've never heard you talk about this topic. What is your opinion on this? I personally think this is a major contradiction in Scripture. I was taught that Jesus' death and resurrection forgave us from all our sins, and this flies in the face of that. Interested on hearing your general thoughts on this. I suffered a lot of heartache back in the day when I used to believe this bullshit. And the title was The Unforgivable Sin. I'm not sure.
So there's a passage that says that to blaspheme against the Holy Spirit is
right.
God can forgive all sins.
I was told something different. If I was told the unforgivable sin was denying Christ, if you deny me in life, I will deny you in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for everyone except Peter, probably. But because
got 3 chances.
God said so.
Now, I put it down to a misunderstanding. Well, not a misunderstanding. A deliberate redefinition of a word.
That never happens in religion.
Is Jesus' sacrifice to give us all salvation stuff? Is that a gift?
Most Christians probably would say so.
Is it described as a gift?
Yeah, I think it's the good gift of
So
salvation.
they like to attach lots of strings to their gifts?
Well, I don't think
Because Jesus' sacrifice has a lot of strings attached to it, doesn't it?
Well, it's a sacrifice. Sacrifice is a sacrifice, but you have to accept him.
See, there's a string.
Yeah,
right
you
there.
have to accept him.
You have to accept him. Mm-hmm. He's not just giving it to you. You have to do stuff to receive the gift.
You have to be born again.
It's not a gift. It's an exchange. It's a trade. That's what it is. If you do this for me, I'll do this for you. It's not a gift. And so it's like...
Well, it comes into that discussion about free will. Like you will love me. You have the choice to love me or not. But if you don't, you get to burn on all eternity.
Yeah. It's like, heaven and hell aren't coercive. No, not at all.
Yeah. I'm not here to coerce you, fist in hand pounding that I would do, but Vern will destroy me for the sound.
So can you read that again? What was his question?
I think it'd be a shame if your place burned down.
He's talking about the unforgivable sin of denying the...
In the
Denying the
versions
Holy
of the Bible
Spirit?
that I read is denying the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
and they're all three gods or one God, so that's Jesus too.
And that makes you ineligible
Yeah.
forever
So let me
from ever being forgiven. And
So I'll tell you a quick story, real quick story. I led my pathway to atheism started when I was like 13, and for the longest time, and I was using an incorrect definition, but I considered myself an agnostic. And my definition of agnostic was there may or may not be a God. I don't care. It was very apathetic.
Okay.
The reason, and it took about 10 years to really call myself an atheist, was the indoctrination, the fear that I had installed in me, because if I called myself an atheism, I was actually denying Christ, even though I'd been doing it for years. But if I denied Christ, that was the point of no return.
That was it.
It was it. I was no going back. I was doomed to, if I was wrong, and there's that argument as well, but if I was wrong, I was doomed to an eternity of torment. And it was physical torment, not the absence of God or the separation from God. It was actual burning for all eternity.
I never had to make that decision. Damn, man.
So it took me 10 years.
Tough.
It took me 10 years to say I am an atheist without having that looming fear, because it is that line in the sand where you cannot come back. And they really beat that into you. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
They really beat that into you unabashedly.
They bash it.
They bashfully, unabashedly. Yep.
Unabashedly bash.
But yeah, it's a big deal.
Wow.
It's a big deal. For a real big part of my deconversion was the acceptance of, or actually acknowledging that I was at that point of no return, and there is no going back. There is no welcoming arms.
Damn.
There is no forgiveness, hence the word unforgivable. And it's a very difficult and a very scary thing to do, and that's why it takes a lot of people. And I mean, I still have nightmares. I still have from time to time. I have what I consider a crisis of faith, which means that I have that wish that I could have faith in this. I wish that there was a supernatural solution to some of these problems that I have that are so great. I wish that I knew I had at least some element of comfort that when I die, I'm going to go someplace, and that also that those who that do die are in a deserving place. That because my grandmother died last year. If anybody deserves to be in a place of paradise, it's her. But she's not in paradise because there is no paradise. Even now, it's painful to say my grandmother is not in heaven. Not because she doesn't deserve to be in heaven, because there is no heaven. And you can just imagine the derision that I get when I say that to people who are believers. Right. They find it insulting. They find it they lash out. And I experienced all that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
it's the evils of indoctrination that will always remain with me.
It's an abuse. Yeah,
and I've come a long way in my atheistic pathway, but I have to acknowledge that indoctrination is always there. It's always going to be there, lingering, waiting for weak moments to emerge and basically say, I'm going to get you back for suppressing me for so long. It's almost being demon possessed.
Right. Oh man!
But I am an artistic author, so I do give a little bit of consciousness to these feelings.
You have an outlet.
That's how I process it. That's how I give it a personality. I give it almost it's Leroy.
Wait, why? Any particular reason for that name?
Leroy the Legion.
This is a reference that I don't get.
You don't get it.
It's a reference I don't get.
Buy my next book.
Modern
Dread Neurohorror by Derek Hawke. Available now. Shameful plug.
Yeah, no, it's so it's interesting that you bring up death. Because wow, what a sentence.
What a great day.
Well, yeah, because I launched my own stuff, my own YouTube recently. It's Jamie the Heathen. That's the correct amount of shameless plug. I haven't repeatedly asked Dennis what. I always forget the name of your website.
Oh, my website.
Yeah.
I have a website, DenisLoubet.com, that showcases my artwork. And
what's the other one?
Store with swag called Main Quest Studios.
Main Quest Studios. I was going to stumble onto it eventually. Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, and it's up on the screen.
Thank you.
They probably won't have my stuff up on the screen because I didn't. I was preparing for the show instead of preparing to plug my own stuff. You've been shamed. No, I can't. I'm in a good mood. It's a good day.
Good to be in a good.
And now let me tell you about this video I'm making about death and grieving. Because recently my cat died, and it's sort of the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time as an adult I've really grieved anything, and I had Hank since from when he was 7 weeks and 1 day old.
Oh, jeez.
And like he would sleep on my shoulder as I was leaning up against the wall, and, typing on my computer or whatever. And he's 3, and then bigger animal got him, so it was unexpected out of the blue. There's the whole thing. Hey, if you want to see a great video that hopefully won't make you sad, but probably will, and also there'll be other stuff. Jamie the Heathen, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
You lost a family member.
Yeah. I did, and to me, I thought about it, and at no point did I go, I hope he's running in kitty heaven or whatever. And I'm actually sort of glad for that, right? I realized that there were cats that I had when I was younger that, my parents got, and it's like, oh, they're my cat. They felt more like family cats than Hank, because Hank was like, I raised a child that just happened to be a cat. And it was hard, when they died, because one of them died in the house, and I had to bury the body and all of this. But it was different. And even then, it wasn't really like, oh man, I hope that Yang, they were basically identical cats from the same litter, so I named them Yin and Yang. So Yang died, and there wasn't a like, man, I hope there's gone. It was just this feeling of loss, and it's like it didn't change anything that there was the possibility of a place like if I thought it's possible that there's a cat heaven, because the reason for the sorrow is still there, which is the separation from a family member. And so there's a part of it that's like, I want good things to happen to the people I love, and adding that element to grieving, I think, actually makes it harder.
It is,
yeah. Because it's like
you have this creature or person that it gave you so much joy and love, and you just feel that in they deserve so much better. They deserve whatever belief. I made up this whole thing. In my mind.
They deserve a fictional heaven.
Yeah. What if they lived in this exact moment? Because I was looking at my cat in the eye when he passed away, put him down, and I was like, what if he lived in this exact moment of pure joy for eternity? This minute second, it was an eternity of joy. He deserved that. Now, I'm actually really interested in seeing your video, because I think in the atheist community, I think we do a poor job of helping each other grieve. There was very few people that really reached out to me in a beneficial way. A lot of it was very cold. Life is life. You die, you live, you die, and that's it. That's over. And there's, they kind of eliminate that emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. We die. We don't. Were you? I always got that. Were you concerned about before you're born? Why should you be concerned about after you die? It's not that simple. And I think we need to do a little bit better job of helping each other process these feelings, because we are in uncharted territory. I am afraid, or I wonder about what happens to me after I die. Maybe I do blink out of existence. And maybe that's I'll have to accept that. But it doesn't prevent me from pondering, or actually even having a little bit of fear about what happens to me when I die.
Yeah, I think it's not something that I live like in dread of. Like if you just watched a scary movie about an axe murderer, and then the locks on your house didn't work,
right?
And then you looked in the shed and your axe was missing, and then you went back inside and I've just invented this. That definitely didn't happen to me at any point.
But I mean,
it's just sort of like it's a kind of like dread for the possibility. I would say I don't actually think that when it comes to people generally not being super great at helping each other grieve. I'm not sure that the someone else is helping you grieve part. I think people do different things when they don't do that well, but it's really hard to help someone because you see them and you want them to not be sad. And it's really hard to say the way to get there is to embrace that sadness and help them grieve. And I feel really bad because Hank died and I was here, and all the people here in this community were super great, and they
So
built
here's
this
the big
beautiful it's not box casket for him, and it's a kind of a shame that I had to bury it because it's beautiful.
So here's a big difference that you just brought out was that I started my grieving process on the online community. And so, you atheists, online atheists, listen up. It was very cold and very uncaring, and not all the time.
Right.
I got cooked up with grieving through non-belief, which was a fantastic. Where you basically it was like it doesn't matter what happened. All that matters is that you're in pain right now.
Right.
And that emotional contact. But that also led me to here where I got that community and I got that compassion that I was looking for.
That's good. Good. Because it seems like what religion does is it attempts to trivialize death and infantilize the person who's grieving.
Yeah, and I that's not a thing that I think is unique to religion. So here I am on a good day where we're pointing out something that religion doesn't help, where I'm going to cut religion, I think, probably more slack than possibly you guys were. And then, because I'm looking at the clock, we're going to move on. So basically, I'm actually going to get the last word and then run off before you guys respond.
Okay, cool.
No, but my sort of thought is, it comes from the my friend is sad about X, or, the death of... I'll just say Hank. The death of Hank. And that's a thing that is sad. It's also a thing that is sad for Hank. Wouldn't it be nice if it wasn't sad and it was just Hank went somewhere and that was, he's in a better place.
And you'll see him again.
It's one of those things where it's like best of intentions, but when it comes to big psychological burdens, you can't always just go with your gut. You got to think about what you're doing, particularly because that's a time when people are particularly vulnerable.
Yes.
Even U.S. law recognizes this. You can't really mess with other people's funerals. That's bigger, and I don't know. Yeah, grieving is hard, and helping other people grieve is hard. But, well, I'm sorry for your losses. Thank you for one-upping me and my grief on the show. It's fine. It's great. Yeah. And for me, oftentimes I default to diffusing the situation with humor too quickly. Although in this situation it works because he's smiling. Ha ha. So there was a while back to the next story.
To the next story.
No.
No, Wayne's World.
No. And then we need the atheist symbol. But there was a while back. It was ages ago. It was like right after I first came on here is permanently, like after Russell left or whatever. So I think well over a year now, where we covered a story about a parent being upset that there was a yoga and mindfulness class in their child's classroom because that's not a Christian practice, right?
I've heard this, yeah.
I was going to say,
Good grief.
Well, just in case you thought they were completely alone, Bishop of Waterford warns against yoga and mindfulness in schools.
Do they have a picture of him?
They do not. They have a picture of a class of a few kids and a yoga teacher all sitting on mats.
I would wager that he's a fat motherfucker.
I was just going to say, the kids are just sort of bending down and trying to touch their toe. That's not really impressive. Like, it's sort of like, oh, we'll teach your kids gymnastics. Like,
that's not even downward doggy style.
Would you... Do you see their children? Back away.
Back away from the article.
There's some. It's this long letter, and I can't read through all of it, but it's it's the letter from this preacher. The Most Reverend Alphonsus Cullinan comma, DD, I don't actually know what the title is, comma, Bishop of Waterford and Lismore. And it's, there's some real quotes here. I'll just throw a couple of them. In an age where children are really suffering from anxiety and stress, and we should embrace practices like yoga, meditation, and mindfulness, we should consider having an extra class added to the curriculum. Maybe call it spirituality studies.
No, spirituality stretching.
I was gonna, all right.
Isn't that what
all right, we're gonna raise our.
is?
I was gonna say, just rename all the things with Jesus names and just be like, it's Jesus now. That's what they did with all the holidays.
I've never engaged in
That's
yoga,
right.
but isn't it just stretching?
So the yoga that makes it to the West is it's yoga, hatha yoga. I can't remember.
That went in a steam room or something?
No, that might be. I might be mixing up the names, but there's different parts of practices of yoga in Hinduism that are not what we think of. But yes, if you sign up for a yoga class, particularly at the gym on the corner, they're gonna say namaste to you. Probably they might be playing.
So basically, you're gonna be in a hot room with no air conditioner, and you're gonna stretch for an hour.
That's one particular type, and it's not really actually that beneficial. You probably feel better because you're sweating up a storm, and if that psychologically is what you want, I still can't recommend it because you shouldn't dehydrate yourself. But I just. Basically, I realized the order of the stories that I want to read, it has kind of a theme. And the first part is the stories about specifically just the religious stuff without the response, which is look at where religion is situated today in the world and compare that to where it was situated 25 years ago, just after I was born, right? Early 90s. You wouldn't have... The thing that religions worry about is like, oh, okay, well, the thing that we can address is that there's yoga class in the school. And that's a thing that they're worried about because they can address it and they can respond to it because most other parts of modern culture are weird and all over the place. But this one they know, not Christian done.
Wasn't it last episode we were talking about the church wanting to burn all the Harry Potter books?
There was one, yeah.
Oh, boy.
So that was the sort of first story. Sorry, I'm gonna go through these a little bit. In a second, hopefully my producers are gonna tell me how much time is left on the clock in my ears so I know how quickly to rip through these. But so there's that, which is a sort of like, okay, religion is responding weirdly to like cultural blending and the things like that. In a weird sort of like, no, our culture stuff that seems just goofy and ineffective. No offense. Hey, warn people against adopting practices that originated in another religion. And then the next story I have, which is decidedly more sort of fun, I guess, from an atheist perspective. I'd like to make it clear. I'm not mocking people. Like, I'm not like thinking of them as less than or whatever. It's just oftentimes people say and do things that I think are silly, and oftentimes I do and say things that other people think are silly, and particularly when you're close friends, you can joke about that, and when you have complete disconnect and no attachment to them, you can really let loose. And so with that, the Vatican announces wearable e-rosary smart device and app for guided prayer, which is kind of the opposite response to modern culture of like, oh no, the yoga's from somewhere else. It's like, ooh, apps. We can make that about Jesus. Which, I mean, I don't know. Like, I saw
Christ.
Do you have I Jesus? Although that might be a little blasphemous to say that you're Jesus or whatever.
I don't know. I have my notification. Stigmata.
So what does this device do?
You click it. So here, that's the click to prayer e-rosary, which is the name of the device.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the Vatican does not probably have a good marketing team for electronic devices.
Probably not.
Because I don't mean to be that guy, but I'm kind of annoyed saying the name, and I've only had to say it once. Is a device targeted to young people as a tool to educate about praying the rosary. According to the Vatican News, the Church's official communication channel. It's a wearable device in the shape of a cross that syncs to a free app that... Okay, sorry. Give me a second.
Syncs to a free app.
It is a wearable device in the shape of a cross that syncs to a free app that tracks a user's progress. The device is activated by making the sign of the cross.
I want one.
Yeah, I know. When I was reading through this, I was sort
one.
of like, I goofed on it. Oh, okay. I kind of had that response at this point too. I went, really? Like just doing that activates a device? Like, and if I was like really hardcore, I might be able to like, let me reprogram this device.
So what does it do?
so
Just
that
count how many times you do it a day?
Well, okay, so Dennis, let me pitch you on this.
Sure.
If I can give you a device that looks like that, and then
Yeah,
when you make
yeah.
the sign of the cross, instead of it does a design function, it does whatever you program it to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's sort of like, you click the number 3 on it, and then you make the sign of the cross, and like your door opens slowly, creak, or like, I don't know, whatever.
It's like-
I think it's cool.
I wanted to issue a loud sound effect
like
of a lightning
Yahweh
bolt.
instead of
that would be
Alexa.
great.
That would be amazing.
That would be cool. Da, da,
Lightning
da,
bolt.
da, boom.
Oh, that would be, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, somewhere there is someone who just really wants to troll that's going to work on voice recognition and name the voice recognition assistant Jesus.
Or Yahweh.
yeah.
And it's just like, oh Lord, hear my prayer. Yes, my child, I am here to grant your. There it is. They've got a picture on screen.
It's,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I want one.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
totally
hold on to
weird.
that
Every different
thought.
color.
I think it probably only
Make the
comes
sign
in
of the
black.
cross
Come in
and it
white.
summons your car. That's cool.
You know what I'm
That
looking
would
for?
be awesome for a self-driving car. If you did that and then spoke into it and said, "Please bring my car to me," and then it like pulled up.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for biblical VR. That'd be so cool.
You can really see them beat Jesus with a stick.
I mean, you like have a car and you'd be like this. I'm like, hey, I'm at the crucifixion, y'all.
Well, this is not the first way. This is not the first way they've automated prayers and stuff like that. I mean, prayer wheels are basically
What's
a
that?
way to automate prayers.
What is a prayer wheel?
Prayer wheel are these weird cylindrical devices that are driven by the wind, or you just you shake it
sounds
by
like one of
hand,
the events on
and it
Price is
basically
Right.
it's got symbols and stuff on it, and it basically issues a prayer every time it rotates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the click to prayer e-rosary, that's what it is. Instead of saying click to pray e-rosary, they've named it click to prayer e-rosary. Ugh.
What a terrible name. What?
Yeah, I know. It's
E-rosary.
weird because I didn't think that would be the only part of this I couldn't get over.
E-rosary.
Anyway, I think it does stuff like that as well. But hold on.
Wow.
The device is activated by making the sign of the cross and will keep track of a user's rosary progress. I don't have a voice ready for this. When activated, the user has the possibility to choose either to pray the standard rosary, a contemplative rosary, and different kinds of thematic rosaries that will be updated every year. This is like, I kind of feel sorry for the Catholic
You have an
Church.
Italian voice?
Wow.
Oh, you know what? I
They're
do. It's just I was thinking
supplying
forward to the
more
thing.
things.
Yes.
Do you have to buy those? Have they monetized the rosary?
No, just wait for later when I tell you what the price is. So it's when activated. I don't have an Italian. I don't have an Italian one, and you deliberately placed a cup of water
just read
as
it.
far from me as physically
Just
possible.
read it.
Yeah, I'm just going to read this.
activated.
I don't want you to simplify. Click to Prayer e-Rosary is a project under the Pope's Worldwide Prayer Network, a network focused on mobilizing Catholics through prayer and action. That was the voice that I'm making there. According to the Vatican, the device has a smart cross.
And how much is it? How much is it? Is it one? Is it two?
Two.
$200.
Smart cross.
That's the device has a smart cross, which can be worn as a bracelet. I'm gonna make you spit up your water through your
Well, if
nose.
enough Christians, enough conservatives buy it, it'll be a right cross. So they.
Wait, hold on. A right cross? Oh, like a punch. Wow.
Yes, a right cross.
That. Yeah. You've thrown off my.
It made. I throw off
thrown
your.
off my
I throw off your.
Yeah.
Your
Click
rhythm.
to prayer, rosaries.
Jamie, keep on reading.
Yes,
All
keep it up.
right, this isn't offensive at all. Okay,
No,
so
not at all.
not at all. Just know that my weird random accent is so bad that no one could possibly mistake it for an honest
Right.
imitation of anything. Oh, look, there's a better picture of it. So the device has a smart cross, which can be worn as a bracelet with 10 consecutive black agate and hemonite rosary beads that wrap around the wrist. I mean, let's be clear. When I had to learn, because I went to Catholic school, how to pray the rosary, I got the full thing where it's like 50 beads with beads in between.
Right.
But that's before you get to the pendant with the part coming down. This is like when I work with children and they go, just use a calculator. I'm like, no, you have to learn that thing. But it's how to pray various different versions of the rosary. So I'm less of an advocate. It's currently for sale online at Acer's Italian website. I don't know what that is. Acer's Italian website for about $110. Wow, that almost went to a different region of the world there.
Yeah.
The project brings together the best of the church's spiritual tradition and the latest advances of technological world, the Vatican News said. It does not bring to mind the best of, naming things, though, because it's click to prayer e-rosary.
So I guess
What are you clicking?
How does it?
I think there's a button on it.
I thought you did this.
No, you activate it
it-
with that, but you click it to do other stuff.
Wow.
I'll be honest,
Yeah,
I didn't
I
read
don't
the
know how
user
this thing
manual.
works.
Yeah, I didn't. With the power of Christ.
Special power of Christ recharging pad.
You
Yes.
will access the power of Christ and pray any version of the rosary you want. Just over $100. Batteries not included.
Power of Christ
So
compels you.
Yeah, it compels you to buy stuff. Super
That's
Jesus.
crazy.
At this point, particularly when the Catholic Church starts talking about the standard rosary, a contemplative rosary, and different kinds of thematic rosaries, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Your church has been around so long, you've had to keep adding stuff. It's sort of like, it's like going, oh, okay, what is the story about Superman? It's like, well, you've been around enough decades. Which reboot is your favorite? Go with that one. Try not to start a holy war. Yeah,
Right.
It's just that this particular stream of stories, as I was saying, and I think I have the right amount of time left.
Contemplating.
My producers didn't hear me and didn't say the number of minutes that I have left to get through the stories, and probably didn't hear me just now. But I'm going to plug along because we talked about the Bishop of Waterford, who's warning against yoga in schools, and the Vatican is like e-rosary. So it's like, oh, weird culture stuff is different because the world that these religions, I don't want to say grew up in, was very different. You didn't have cultural blending, right? You had the place in between, this is a story from my aunt, the place in between Germany and France where you could, go and buy stuff from Patisserie Schmidt, right? Where it's like these two cultures have blended because you've gone back and forth war, but you didn't have, a population of people from the center of South America living in the United Kingdom. Right, and you do now, and so there's a certain level of, it's the same sort of thing that happened in New Amsterdam that became New York. Is like there's enough people living in this city that's prosperous enough where it's like everyone has got a little different thing.
Sure.
You're exposed to enough other cultures that either you completely regress and cut yourself off from the world, or you embrace it, and the Catholic Church can't really decide what it's doing, and also it has to deal with all the raping that it's going to be held responsible for.
Yeah.
And then we travel over to the United States, where the regress and shield yourself off and fight just cuz in whatever way first please you is going strong with our segment that we like to call Shit Internet Apologists Propose as Laws in the United States. Not online. Because there's a proposed bill that would
pigs
make...
in space.
What's in space?
Pigs in space.
Pigs in space?
There you go.
So there's a proposed bill that would make Bible courses a requirement in Florida public schools. Don't worry. Students aren't required to take the courses. It's just that the schools are required to have them as an elective that's paid for with taxpayer funds. So
Great.
them being specifically Bible.
Guess they don't have enough churches.
Well, I think they don't have enough lawsuits testing how far they can stretch the Constitution. But it's a newly proposed bill. This story is very, very recent. It's from 3 days ago. So if you're in Florida, this is happening in your state, and you're a resident there, and I'm not. So do with that information what you will, depending on how politically active you want to be, because it's a proposed bill and not a bill that's been passed about forcing your tax dollars to be spent on other people's
It's proposed by a Democrat.
If you are Florida, man, you need to act here. So
hashtag not all Democrats.
Yeah, true.
A newly proposed bill would make Bible courses a requirement in every public school in the state of Florida. Under the current law, schools have the option of offering the courses, but it is not required. House Bill 341 was introduced by Jacksonville Democrat Representative Kim Daniels. According to the proposed bill, it you know what? My mind just split, and I don't have a voice. Requires each school district to offer specified courses relating to religion, Hebrew scriptures, and Bible to certain studies as elective courses. It always annoys me when this sort of, like, quasi-fundamentalist activist Christians try and go, oh, no, but we're including the Jews because that's the Old Testament, right? I'm just like, no. It's very much like after the mosque shooting, when the current president of the United States, Donald Trump's administration, tried to respond, but couldn't find real sort of. They found a person who was Jewish, but instead of saying the Jewish prayer of mourning or naming the dead, they didn't do the stuff from the Jewish traditions. So I don't know.
It's sort of like a brief bio of Kim Daniels. Real quick.
You got 30 seconds, go.
Born in 1961 as an American religious minister who performs exorcism, religious author, politician, former sex worker, and mother of 6 from Jacksonville, Florida. She is currently serving her second term as representative for Florida House of Representatives, District 14, and member of the Democratic Party.
District 14 in Florida. Yeah, it's interesting because you said, wow, and it's proposed by a Democrat. Yeah, so on the national stage, your political party means that when there's an important vote coming up, you get a visit from the chief whip of whatever your party is. When you start getting local, stuff goes every which way. So here's what I will say. Be informed and don't vote for a name you don't recognize because you see the letter that follows it. You don't know that person.
All right.
Either you looked into that person, you know that person, or you didn't. Every 4 years, we have an election for all of the things and 1/3 of the Senate, not just which one person is going to be in the White House. So please inform yourself, whatever your politics, however you're going to end up voting.
She actually had
democracy is not democracy if you don't know what you're doing. Will you hand me your cup, please?
She actually had a run-in with Freedom from Religion Foundation.
I am completely and utterly shocked. I would not have guessed that.
They wrote to her to request that she stop blocking users on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, because she was saying, this is my official public thing. Was that her? And there was some court case about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, if passed, students will be given a chance to learn about the New Testament and the Old Testament of the Bible. While schools would be required to offer the course, students would not be required to take it. In March, there was a similar bill that would require all public high schools, proposed again by Representative Daniels, would require public high schools to offer elective courses on the study of the Bible, and it won approval by an 11-3 vote. Daniels said the intent was not to teach a specific religion in school, but rather to emphasize the Bible's role in history, culture, and the founding of the U.S. government. Because somehow you should read the Bible that is specific to the Christian is not about the intent to teach a specific religion in school, though there's this specific book about a specific religion that she wants to have taught in schools. The newly proposed bill would go into effect in July 2020 if it passes, which it has not done yet. Because House Bill 341 in the state of Florida.
So much to do with our government, or with all the voting in the Bible.
It's a lot of, I was going to say, it's all the democratic principles outlined by Jesus when he said, make sure you go out and talk to all the people and campaign effectively so you can get elected to the Senate, so you can get Roman centurions to enforce the laws that I want you to follow. Right. And also, let's have super strong borders or whatever else you want to say. So those are the parts where it's like, this kind of highlights kind of where religion finds itself in the modern world. It has to either sort of casually shy away from modernity, weirdly try and embrace it, or just reject it and go for I'll use the law to get what I want. Well, and I don't think any of these three are effective.
Well, you're seeing what the influence of religion has in the Western world, but we're seeing that the more impactful stuff that they're working on is in, say, Africa or middle or third world countries, where they're actually promoting changes in their government that's outlawing homosexuality. That's why African kids are being put to death as witches. It's Christian missionaries going there and messing with their government.
It's always an interesting thing. When a person is always, I'll talk to them and they're like, why would you take away this thing that brings people comfort? It's like, okay, there are people that get a lot of comfort from, reading Mein Kampf at night or whatever. I would also have I would also disagree with their beliefs, and given the opportunity, attempt to talk to them about their epistemology and why that might not be a really good idea, and they should not, for whatever ideology, or diminish the happiness of other human beings.
Nothing is above criticism.
And so, again, like I was saying, this is where religion finds itself, and now we start with the good news. I've just got two little bits of news that I think highlight where we are, and end with something that I think struck me more than anything else that's happened in the movement in the entirety of the time I've been in it, and quite possibly looking back at it. So let's start with the Pew Forum. In U.S., decline of Christianity continues at rapid pace. This is published October 17th, 2019. So I'm going to read through this a little bit quickly, so I'll just hit the highlights. The religious landscape of the United States continues to change at a rapid clip. Pew Research telephone surveys conducted 2008 and 2018, 2019, 65% of American adults described themselves as Christian when asked about their religion, down 12 percentage points over the last decade.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the religiously unaffiliated share of the population, consisting of people who describe their religious identity as atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular, now stands at 26%, which is more than 1 in 4, which is up from 17%.
Damn.
1 in 11 people in the United States, about a year ago when polled, was represented by saying, I belong to some religion or another. And then 1 in 11 people in the United States in recent months said, no, nothing in particular, or I'm an agnostic, or I'm an atheist, on the phone in response to a survey from a stranger. Both Protestantism and Catholicism are experiencing losses of population share. Currently, so this is now, 43% of U.S. adults identify with Protestantism, which is down from 51%. Less than a majority. For the first time in the entirety of my life, not just my history in the movement, less than a majority of adults identify in the United States with Protestantism, and only 1 in 5 adults, 20%, literally flat, are Catholic. This is a sign of the progress. Right now, as the last sort of Christian story highlighted, sure, there are a lot of elected officials, and certainly they've stacked the judiciary with as many, forgive me for just being blunt here, as many Jesus activists as they can that care more about Jesus than objectively evaluating the jurisprudence of all of it. And hey guys, the movement's going strong. Don't give up. it's wearing us down, but
Yeah.
all the signs are there, right? So there's this side story about AG bars just addressing people just went, oh yeah,
Blah,
the
blah, blah.
growing ascendancy of secularism. God, when they use phrases like this, I just sort of, I'm like this close to rolling my eyes because
They're desperate.
it's very much like they're trying to tell like an epic poem or something, is to blame for violence, depression, and mental illness, and the ongoing drug epidemic, and the wreckage of the family. So Nick Fish, the president of American Atheists, responded in a letter. It is curious that you blame violence on the rise of secularism in the United States, wrote Fish, who is an awesome human being. To the contrary, as Attorney General, you no doubt know that according to data published by the FBI, the rate of violent crime in the United States has fallen since 1993. The timeline of this fall in violent crime correlates to the explosive growth of secularism in the United States. So I think with that implication, he's sort of leaning on correlation rather than causation, but it's sort of like,
still.
let's be clear, violent crime
Is decreasing.
is decreasing, and that correlates with the explosive growth of secularism,
Yeah.
right? So the number of people that would say, oh, well, I have a problem choosing between serving my Lord and serving the law or whatever is decreasing necessarily. Also, church attendance is down, which, hey, you want to go to church, that's fine. I'm not going to stop you. But there being a quasi-army of people that are going to put something, they're going to value something higher than the lives of other people around them and higher than the rule of law and then higher than the structure of our society is decreasing just in total number and decreasing in how active they are. And it makes sense.
That's a good thing.
The extremists are out in full force. Most of the cabinet, the president is all tied up in that movement. It wasn't too long ago. He's only been in office for, I think just under 3 years, whatever it is now, or just over, whatever, less than one term. It wasn't too long ago, less than a decade. He was pro-choice and all this and super liberal. And now he's involved in this last gasp of a sprint with whatever we have left to take our hammer of Jesus and
God of the evangelicals.
Smash as many parts of the secular U.S., anything in history books, anything in law. And ultimately, I think it's going to be bad, right? Particularly for the next few decades. The Supreme Court and those appointments aren't going to help us. But I very much see the light at the end of the tunnel. And let me tell you why. So there are parts of this final story that I haven't been able to verify yet, because I've been busy and I'm not super great at managing my time. But this week, there was another round of debates in the Democratic Party primaries. They had to split it into two nights. So one of the nights was on CNN and one of them was on CBS. Back in 2014, the Freedom from Religion Foundation created and debuted an ad, right? Just an atheist ad. It's for the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and they proposed it. And it was rejected by most cable networks and all of this. And the most plain explanation, what is it? Oh, the agents, when asked, oh, why was this rejected? It was refused for words and tone. So in just a second, my producers are pulling up, we're going to play that ad for you. This is the ad that in 2014 was rejected pretty much everywhere. Let's roll that.
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, an unabashed atheist, and I'm alarmed by the intrusions of religion into our secular government. That's why I'm asking you to support the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest and most effective association of atheists and agnostics, working to keep state and church separate, just like our founding fathers intended. Please support the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
So that, 5 years ago, which actually, it's funny, I hadn't thought of this until now. That's the same amount of time that I've been an atheist and active. So basically, all of the progress that's been made, it's all about me. No,
Cool.
it feels like when I started to come to terms with, from my personal perspective, it feels a little bit like when I started to come to terms with my sexuality because it was weird. And then also I realized, as far as history goes and the history of any GSRM identity at all, now is the best time so far. We might get a little bit of backsliding, and so that's it's not technically correct, and things are still terrible for trans people. But compare now to 50 years ago, compare now to 10 years ago, progress. And it was sort of like, I'm queer, and let's see what I can do. And then it's like, well, people are excited to have gay friends, and the problem is like, oh, you shouldn't treat your gay best friend as an accessory. Ooh, so I didn't have any like, oh, okay, there's activism needed spark. And when I started, realize, hey, I'm an atheist, I don't believe this. Activism was needed very clearly, and it still is. And I could see that even before, Trump was elected, and we need more skepticism and more education and all of this. 5 years from that, where it's like you wouldn't have heard about this or seen this anywhere, the other day, Ron Reagan, who is the son of, Republican, this is our idea man, Ronald Reagan, right?
Their icon.
Like their icon. His son, lifelong atheist, did this commercial, and it aired on CNN during the debate. And
this
week got national attention. So my understanding of the timeline, though I haven't verified this, and so I shouldn't say it, but I'm too excited and full of hope to not say anything. There was kind of an outcry. I haven't been able to measure how much because CBS sort of still rejected to play it.
Yeah.
I don't know that they've given a full explanation of why. I think it was again, I think it was word
Probably
and tone,
yeah,
etc. But CNN, they got a complete backlash because they didn't play it, and CNN did play it, and you don't hear the hyper-evangelical Christian backlash as loud as you hear the secular voices, and it's sort of. It's weird because it's not as significant as Obergefell or Ellen or any of these things, but this is the first time since I've been paying attention to any of this that I can see it in the history of my country at least, where something happened. Secular people stood up, raised their voices, and were heard.
Yeah.
And quite possibly, I can't, demonstrate causation, quite possibly that caused an organization, right? Not a person whose heart was moved,
right.
An organization.
A major corporation.
Major corporation to make the decision, we will play this. We will respond to the raised voices of the secular community, potentially. It's almost better if they didn't, because then they just decided on their own, no, we have to play this. It feels...
Cool.
So are you saying that the secular voices were louder than the opposition voices?
And I mean, you can say, "Ooh, it's about the Democratic primary," but it's not like very right-wing evangelical personalities have been quiet about what's going on, what their their hot take on the Democratic primary, the party that's trying to take away our gods and destroy our godly God history and being God's super God, and they worship Moloch, the God of not God, and
not Jesus, God.
But I can't hear that as loud as I can hear, it got played, and maybe it's just me, but it's...
Hold on to that.
It's moving.
Yeah.
And earlier today I was working on content where it's like, oh, look at how fucked everything is and how we're going to be dealing with shit for decades. And it's like, look at the statistics. It's like you said,
it's getting better.
Hold on to that.
Yeah.
Hold tight.
Hold on to that.
As long as we don't...
It's getting better.
As long as there isn't a giant violent upheaval where...
Hang in
2% or 10% of a population can just completely enforce whatever they want on a culture. Barring that, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
As long as we don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't
We'll keep the pressure on.
Don't put me on this, guys. Just keep hold on to yourself. Realize there's reasons to be hopeful. Lean in, and within our lifetime, I've met people, Pride, they were like 50, who were like, I never thought I would see a day where Pride was just sort of an event. In Austin, it's more like, we've got a party, than like, oh, everyone everywhere is challenging that. Obviously, in this climate, it's reasserting like, we're here. But I was asked like 3-4 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. How long do you think it will be before a majority of the United States is some kind of non-believer or none? And people, it was around a dinner table at an after-show dinner, and people said things like, I don't know, 20 years, someone will be, it'll be 50 years. No, it'll be less than that, maybe 12, 10 years? Oh, that's too many. And I was like, it'll be more than that. And then I thought about it, and I went, the question was just, until a majority of the United States is not just like okay with the fact that there are secularists, but would like trust them in office and see them as people or whatever. And I realized like, no, I think it'll be 5 years. And that's the actual number I said, less than 5 years ago. So who knows? Maybe I'm the best prophet ever.
Cool.
And that took people by surprise, and I don't really know where my hopefulness came from then. But because it flipped so far around for the GSRM and marriage equality, and it's like young people especially, they're done with this. They're done with the hateful old traditions that we do just because it doesn't matter who it hurts.
Yeah.
Hold on tight, lean forward, we're all in this together, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And with that,
all right,
we've run over time, but they didn't warn me fast enough.
I will take us out.
Take me home.
Well, that was our show, and we hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back in 2 weeks on the 3rd of November. Until then, keep state and church separate, just as our founding fathers intended.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.